You only need to know me. I will be the one.
In Chapter 1030, Eustace Kid and Law used their awakenings for the first time on screen, but it's not the first time they've used awakening in the story itself, because Oda clearly implies through the dialogue of Kid and Law that this occurred off screen, at some point in time. So rather than speculate when they might have used awakening before because we just don't know, let's consider what we know about awakening so far before speculating what Luffy himself can do. Disclaimer: if you think this theory about Luffy's rubber awakening is a stretch, but you like the ideas presented nonetheless, reach over and hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned to the end, because some of the awakening theories I share with you will definitely surprise you, especially my expanded take on them. So in Chapter 1030, we get certain descriptions and dialogue that further previous speculation from Robin's fight with Black Maria. Now I want to stress, we don't know if either of these characters are awakened, that is, Robin and Kanjuro, but they have pushed their devil fruit abilities to the limit, exhausting themselves completely in the case of Robin, or seemingly depleting their remaining lifespan in the case of Kanjuro. Like I mentioned in my review, it's interesting that the depletion of energy is mentioned especially in the dialogue between Kid and Law, because one of Law's unseen abilities is the immortality operation, or immortality surgery. Something that actually grants immortality to another, we believe, at the cost of the user's life, or at the very least by exchanging or transferring the user's lifespan to another. But Kid and Law mentioned having used their awakenings before, but preferring not to do so because neither of them are used to it yet. As standard paramecia, at least, it burns too much energy to use in a real battle, which again reminds us of Robin's words after activating her demon fleur, or demon or devil form, against Black Maria. She even says she will become the devil, if that is what it will take to win, as if the devil has taken over and given her new powers, the devil fruit. Again, it's not confirmed to be an awakening, but it is an example of pushing your devil fruit powers so far that you deplete your energy, or even life energy, which is different than running out of haki. Running out of haki being a concept both Trafalgar Law and Gear 4th Luffy have experienced in the past. We see Kanjuro on the brink of death, barely clinging on to life. Orochi can tell he's on the brink of passing on and wants Kanjuro to use the last of his life energy. Again, not haki but life energy, to draw one last masterpiece, using his art for revenge, to draw a painting that depicts the burning wrath of the Kurazumi clan, to destroy Onigashima and everyone on the island. Orochi is encouraging Kanjuro to finish his act, to give the play of his life a grand finale. As I said, this suggests Kanjuro is on the brink of death and so about to die after this final performance. Either it's all he can manage to do, or is an ultimate ability, his greatest and most powerful technique thus far. But Orochi's narration of the transformative art has a secret in it, I believe. In this translation, Orochi's words describe the abyss of hell, which is where the devil resides, and so think devil fruits. He then mentions freeing the soul in a final blaze of glory, and so the fiery technique, this final show titled Kanzenbo, lifelike ink in the image of a ghostly demon covered in flames, is then conjured, the conjured essence of Kanjuro's vengeful, burning soul, you could say. Or rather, the release of his devil fruit's true power, or true form maybe. The release of his devil fruit's soul. Something interesting to consider is what we're seeing here. When you push yourself to your limits as a devil fruit user, with Kanjuro, if he's dead, he has created an ability that outlives him, that remains active in the world even after his death, if the fluttering that we see exhibits a hint to that. He has finally passed away. But maybe some devil fruit abilities become stronger with your death. So after my review for Chapter 1030, some of you mentioned to me that Saiyans become stronger after death, or near-death experiences in Dragon Ball. But more specifically, Hunter x Hunter apparently has a power system wherein the abilities of Nen users become stronger after death. And that could be what we're seeing here with Kanjuro, the exchange of life energy. Kanjuro calls it a pact. Think of the pact with the devil. A pact maybe devil fruit users can form with their devil fruit soul. Again, I'm not saying necessarily an awakening, but maybe it's something else or something similar. But Luffy has always suffered setbacks from new powers, sometimes life-threatening. Some drain haki, others life force. What impact will an awakening have upon him? Are some awakenings riskier than others? One thing to consider is what we've speculated about awakenings from paramecia thus far, and how devil fruit abilities can awaken and affect the surrounding environment or even objects. People think Aokiji and Akainu, two Logias, one ice, the other magma, were able to permanently transform the terrain because they are awakened. Essentially, the devil fruit power you have wakes up and escapes your body partially. The environment or object in hand absorbs the devil fruit, displaying similar abilities. Or in another sense, it's as if the environment eats your devil fruit too. Symbiosis, you could say, connecting your power to the outside world, sharing it, affecting not just your soul, but the world's soul, since in One Piece, the breath and voice of all things has shown us all that all things are alive in their own way. All things breathe and have a soul that you could see and hear. The rocks, the trees, even the water, air, and sky. Kobe told us, and Luffy as well, who we'll get to shortly, that Vegapunk managed to feed a devil fruit to inanimate objects, and so think Kizaru's laser and the pacifista, and the gun that ate a dog devil fruit, as well as Funk Freed, the sword that ate the elephant fruit, the elephant devil fruit. Inanimate objects, the surroundings, absorbing the soul and gaining a devil fruit power. So some awakenings have a temporary or permanent effect. Maybe Logia awakenings are both temporary and possibly permanent, whereas paramecias, from what we've seen from Katakuri and Doflamingo, are not. Those awakened environments revert back to original form with time. Doflamingo told us that in rare instances, devil fruit powers can achieve awakening, greatly increasing the abilities of the user. I might be wrong, but based on what I looked into, the kanji for awakening is kakusei. Kakusei, when broken into separate kanji, seems to have some connection to the word enlighten, but I could be off. But essentially reaching a higher plane of awareness or ability, enlightenment. Check out my Why Luffy Ate the Devil Fruit of a God Final Gear the Monkey King video, where I discuss the Monkey King Sun Wukong's journey to becoming enlightened. While not much is yet known about awakening as of this video's publication, awakenings increase the abilities and have been seen to allow significantly greater power, more refined control, and new abilities overall that would otherwise not be possible without an awakening. Which makes sense because when you're awake, you are capable of doing so much more than if you were asleep. Like subscribing to my channel, and if you're still awake, maybe you can like the video, if you haven't yet. But the effects of awakening depend on the type of devil fruit. And given what I said about becoming tired after your awakening, maybe that does depend on the level of mastery you have, and Kid and Law are still novices, unlike Katakuri and Doflamingo. Now, there are the Zoans from Impel Down that are awakened as well, and I want to save this for a Kaido script I've been working on, which I will finish after this video. But we'll touch more on Zoans with Luffy shortly in brief. Logias are still up in the air, although through the Ace novels and other in-story descriptions, we have a sense again that Logias can affect the terrain and weather of the environment with an expanded ability. Their Logia power is spreading to there, and so maybe these abilities are awakened. But let's direct our attention to paramecia. Doflamingo told Luffy that awakening is a new stage of your devil fruit, allowing you to do things that you could not do before with your devil fruit ability. Some awakened powers like his can affect things other than the user's own body. We went over this idea with Luffy noting that an awakening no longer appears to be the power of a mere paramecia, and we'll come back to address this potential foreshadowing as it pertains to Luffy as well, in addition to the blurring of lines between some Zoan, paramecia, and Logia. Some other examples of awakened paramecia are considered to be non-canon and therefore not considered part of the canon story, but let's mention them anyways. Non-canonically, a second version of paramecia awakening has been seen. This version of paramecia awakening allows the user to vastly expand the strength and range of the fruit's power, as well as superfine or fine-tune the ability. Gil Tesoro awakened his Goro Goro no Mi, a non-canon paramecia type devil fruit that allows the user to telekinetically manipulate gold at will. If this power is awakened, the range of the user's influence over gold will increase, extending their senses to the gold that are under their powers, increasing the telekinetic range, potentially creating a complex sensory network, enabling him to sense every movement, it is said, that is connected with his gold. But his paramecia awakening does not allow him to suddenly create gold, which I think debunks some of the theories people have had about Luffy mimicking Katakuri in the sense of creating rubber out of thin air. I sincerely doubt Luffy will develop Logia-like abilities that allow him to manifest rubber at all, but maybe he'll be able to manipulate them further. Now, brief spoilers from the Stampede movie, but Douglas Bullet awakened his devil fruit, allowing him to extend the range of his material combining ability to disassemble and restructure entire terrains into constructs as he sees fit. This shows, at least non-canonically, that different paramecia fruits awaken in different ways depending on the nature of the devil fruit. And so with Law and Eustace Kid, their awakenings vary as well. Law can extend or feed his powers to his sword, and other things I would imagine, giving him a whole new range of operational or surgical abilities he did not have before. With Kid, his awakened magnetism allows him to maybe, and I'm still holding out hope as an X-Men fan, but maybe become Magneto, magnetizing the very world and bending it to his will, like Shiki the Golden Lion even, Shiki's ability to telepathically control whatever he touches. There is no specific formula or exact method of predicting what an awakening can do, but from what I've laid out, I want to summarize a few ideas. Awakenings can either expand the range of an ability, the duration, or the overall strength of a devil fruit power. For paramecia, because that is what we're focused on, maybe a time limit of an ability expands, maybe its destructive capacity is enhanced, maybe the number of persons or objects affected increases. All in all, there is improvement, refinement, and/or expansion of your prior techniques. In terms of expansion, it's safe to say some of this will be a stretch, to say the least. Luffy ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi, a paramecia-type devil fruit that gives the user's body the properties of rubber, making the user a rubber human. Unlike some paramecia, but akin to Katakuri and a few others, this means Luffy's body has itself been transformed, whereas other paramecia can create things and alter reality naturally. Luffy can only alter the shape of his own body, at least at the stage he's at now. But if Luffy does have the bodily properties of rubber, then what can rubber do? Let's consider it. It's interesting to note that every devil fruit has its strengths and weaknesses. Shouldn't an awakening improve upon those strengths and eliminate those weaknesses? Let's consider that with rubber. Rubber is an elastic substance obtained from the exudations of certain tropical plants, natural rubber, or derived from petroleum and natural gas, synthetic rubber. Because Luffy would be from Brazil in real life, which is home to rubber wood trees in various parts of the Amazon rainforest, it's safe to say he is natural rubber. Rubber has the following properties: elasticity or elongation, resilience, hardness or toughness, tensile strength, which is the resistance of a material to breaking under tension. Rubber also has varied measures of stiffness to it, compression levels, tear resistance, abrasion resistance, and something known as specific gravity. The density of an object when compared to the density of water, which I'll save for you mechanical engineers to consider. But I think each of these properties will be expanded, improved upon by Luffy's future awakening. Now, before we move on, I can already hear the naysayers saying once again, as they usually do, Vinland. Science shouldn't be brought up when theorizing about manga and anime because it's not that deep, bro. Or mangaka don't really delve into it like that, as they would history in Ichiro Oda's case or other subjects. This isn't Dr. Stone. I think to counter that point, we have this panel of Luffy and Doflamingo discussing the changes to Luffy's body when he goes Gear 4th and uses Haki to alter or enhance the properties of his rubber. Some of the prior scientific terms are mentioned. So if Luffy were to awaken, what exactly would happen? We've seen Luffy's body stretch, bend, bounce, inflate, and twist like rubber already. From what Law and Kid did, expect an expanded version of this power. Some believe Luffy, like Katakuri, is also a special paramecia. What does this entail? Well, look at Katakuri. In his case, he is a paramecia with Logia properties. He can create substances, mochi out of thin air, and can manipulate his mochi body freely. But like standard paramecia awakenings, Katakuri can transform the surrounding environment, even objects I'd imagine, into mochi. And so this is why some theorize Luffy will be able to touch his surroundings and turn the environment, whether it be the ground or air around him, into rubber as well. Rubberizing his surroundings, creating a literal bouncy world, or bouncy house, or whatever it's called. Bouncing himself and his opponents around at will, especially if he flows his Haki to his surroundings too, similar to Gear 4th. Essentially giving Gear 4th to his surroundings. Imagine the ground or an object using Gear 4th Bound Man and Snake Man techniques. Imagine a sword or a bamboo stick or something else, a staff using King Kong Gun and King Cobra. Think of Goku's power pole, but on a whole new broken level. But if Luffy is also a special paramecia, or at least similar to one, he should be able to exhibit another type of Delphu power, not Logia, but Zoan. Like Zoans, Luffy's body has changed. The user of the Gomu Gomu no Mi becomes almost completely immune to blunt damage, including hand-to-hand combat, blunt weapons, bullets, and even cannonballs, all of which will just bounce off from his skin. Situations like falls from great heights and heavy collisions that would kill a normal person end up not being lethal or even painful. And certain traps and hazards are rendered ineffective considering the user's enhanced flexibility. I'd imagine with an awakening, Luffy's defense without using Haki would improve significantly. Maybe this would even protect him from his vulnerability to sharp objects like blades. Luffy has also shown great durability in the face of the elements such as Enel's electricity, rubber being highly resistant. I think the same is true of Luffy and fire to some degree. Luffy using Red Hawk, yes, but also something we saw from Luffy against Kaido, wherein Luffy passed right through Kaido's dragon breath, pretty much unfazed. Luffy attributes Kaido's perception of this trick to guts. But I do think rubber perfectly depicts what it means to have guts in the first place, to not bend or fold, no matter the enemy or damage incurred. And so rubber is what protected Luffy here from Kaido's flames too. There have also been theories about Luffy's Devil Fruit as well as his awakening countering Blackbeard's stolen earthquake powers. Rubber being a shock absorber, and you can watch my discussion on that by searching this. Why Luffy's Devil Fruit is needed to stop Blackbeard from reaching the empty throne, awakening. There's also the idea that Luffy might be able to vulcanize or further harden his rubber with fire, via related Red Hawk abilities, Red whatever. This process of vulcanization might have been hinted at with the Red Rock attack he used against Kaido in Chapter 1000.
Hit the hawk!
While rock refers to a legendary bird, I wouldn't put it past Oda to play with the sound of the word rock and turn it into a rock or hardened attack. I had mentioned before Kaido's incredible attack power and defense, and it would seem as if this vulcanization could break through Kaido's durable body and dragon scales, and when coupled with Conqueror's Haki, Kaido's will as well. However, a major risk of Luffy's powers is that sometimes his stretched limbs take a moment to unstretch back into place, leaving him vulnerable to attacks in the moments when his limbs are stretched. And while Luffy has adapted his fighting style to minimize this risk, maybe an awakening can lessen the risk even more. Also, Luffy is still vulnerable to Haki. But if Luffy awakens, would Haki be less effective against his rubbery body, or would it still nullify his Devil Fruit's effect, bypassing its power? Now, we touched on expanded defenses, improved rubber qualities, and the rubberization of the environment. From here, the theories only get wilder. Now, King of Lightning made a really good video discussing various reasons as to why the government wanted the Gomu no Mi. One of which might be because of the gigantification experiments, and so Luffy's Devil Fruit might have the power to stretch and expand when awakened to such heights that he becomes an actual giant. There's even a filler scene, you might remember it, at least I think it's filler, when we see a giant Luffy. We know that because of his rubber qualities, Luffy can take in a lot of air, even an abnormal amount of shadows against Moria to become Nightmare Luffy, also increasing in size then. We also see this with Gear 4th to some degree. Why has Luffy never bothered breathing in more air than what he usually does? Maybe because he can't? Maybe because there's a limit? And so awakening could remove this limit or weakness and allow Luffy to take in more air and grow much larger in size. It might also eliminate the need for a lot of air or any air entirely when going into his higher gear forms in the future. There is now one final, very much out there alternative possibility as to why the world government wants Luffy's Devil Fruit, and it ties into a theory some of you have maybe heard before: the ultimate awakening of Luffy's Devil Fruit, its potential true ability and purpose. Ultimate also referring to those fruits most desired and feared by the world government, I guess. Luffy's fruit, the Gomu no Mi, having been cited in what is known as Romance Dawn, version 2, as being worth 5 billion berries. This value being the same as the one estimated for the Ope no Mi, Law's Devil Fruit. Law's Devil Fruit can perform transfers of personality as well as the immortality surgery or operation, which might be an awakened power. One of immense value to a former celestial dragon like Doflamingo and perhaps others, maybe the Gorosei and Imusama. So what of Luffy's Devil Fruit and its awakening? Gomu means rubber in Japanese. In the Viz manga, 4Kids and Funimation dubs, it is called the gum fruit. Gum being a soft, cohesive substance designed for chewing, with elastic properties, and it tastes good, sometimes. This is thought to be a distortion of the true intention of the Japanese naming, and so Gomu or rubber is more appropriate. And it leads me to think of another rubbery object, aside from chewing gum, that some of us regularly use: the rubber eraser. The ability to erase things around you, although we can kind of work with the eraser word a bit. Make it more flexible to what is actually likely to be such an overpowered ability. Luffy has resembled or mimicked other rubber items such as balloons in the past, but not the eraser. In some parts, an eraser is actually called a rubber. It's used for removing marks from paper, chalk, or blackboards or skin. But a rubber eraser obviously has a rubbery consistency. Also, the idea of Luffy erasing the world around him akin to erasing words or drawings sounds like the erasure or editing of reality. Imagine in terms of erasing marks from the skin or things around him if Luffy could, to a limited extent, erase injuries or the attacks of his opponent from existence entirely. In terms of erasing reality, what about the erasure of memories akin to Pudding's Memo no Mi or Memory Devil Fruit? The theory that has floated around, especially in my comment section by many of you, is that Luffy's Devil Fruit is not only important to counter Blackbeard's Quake power to destroy the world, and so Luffy could save it with his, But also maybe the Gomu Gomu no Mi was once used by the world government to bring about the Void Century, the great cleansing spoken of by the Gorosei back during the introduction of Imusama, the restoring of the world to its prior balance by erasing or removing unnecessary things, the erased history of the world and just maybe the erased or forgotten memories of that time, which is why the indestructible poneglyphs exist, why they have withstood the test of time maybe. They cannot be destroyed, not by an ancient weapon nor a devil fruit power, even one maybe with the capacity to erase just about anything. It is said erasers allow us to correct mistakes, that mistakes are correctable. Everyone makes mistakes. You have to erase them and let them go. Then again, when you erase something and pretend like it didn't happen, can you truly learn from it? If you erase the past, are you not prone to repeating it? Finally, some have even gone so far as to suggest Luffy's awakening could bend space-time, manipulating space and time as a counter to Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi's darkness or gravity. Overall, there are some wild devil powers out there such as gravity, earthquakes, lightning, magma, turning people into toys, and causing others to forget the existence of their families and friends, etc., etc. Why should some of the wild ideas we've gone over today, particularly the eraser theory, be any different? To end the video, I just wanted to mention this, as stated by Shanks in Chapter 19. Shanks, who is responsible for giving Luffy his devil fruit. Devil fruits are considered by some to be incarnations of the Sea Devil. In other translations, Shanks mentions devil fruits themselves having been enchanted by sea devils or devils of the sea, which could mean certain individuals from the past or void century that lived on the sea. Jabra even believed a rumor that devil fruit users housed actual devils inside their bodies. According to the rumor, if a devil fruit user went near an uneaten devil fruit, a devil would come out of the fruit and rip the user apart, which is clearly an exaggeration, but from some of the awakenings mentioned, we have seen the devil fruit's soul leave the user's body to affect nearby things. So devil fruits are alive in one way or another, or rather they have souls of their own that can awaken from a deep slumber. But as usual, we will have to wait and see. Don't forget to like the video, comment with your thoughts below, share this with your friends, and subscribe. Also click that notification bell. As always, there is more to come. Until next time, I'll see you all in Valhalla.